Hello and welcome to class 4 of video editing technical workflow, the online course. Yesterday we spoke about various video formats, film format, TV format, digital format. And when we came to digital, we have seen that any digital file will contain either the codec and also the container, not either or but both codec and containers. Without a container and without a codec, a digital file cannot exist. It cannot be saved in a video also. Today we will be continuing with that. We will go ahead and we will understand few more technical concepts which are needed in order to become a professional video editor, and these concepts, these technical terms will also help you in starting to edit professionally. So today we will be discussing about resolutions, we will be discussing codecs in more detail, we'll be discussing bit rate, bit depth, we will be understanding what these terms mean, bit depth, bit rate. Now, so when you check the metadata, these are all our metadata of the footage. So when you go to edit, we will give you a footage, a small 6-shot footage for this weekend. So when you go ahead and do this exercise, you will be able to perform the whole exercise as a professional editor, starting from dealing with the footage. So all these things, if you do not understand what footage is, how will you deal with the footage? Okay. So today's classes PDF has been already uploaded. You can check on Google Classroom. You can check later also after you listen to this. Then you can go and check that PDF. You can keep that notes. And I think, yes, again, some of the people are over here. Okay. Before jumping into codecs, resolutions, bit depth in detail, I want to tell you one thing which is used aesthetically also in filmmaking. We will start with human perception of color. I want to talk a little bit, 2-3 minutes about this human perception of color. Then we will jump into today's topic, codecs, resolutions and bit depth. Human perception of color. Now, whatever we see, this we will discuss during our color theory and color grading class also. Human eye has one type of cell which is called rods, 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 and another type of 3 types of cells which are called cones. Rods are responsible for the brightness, luminance. Whatever brightness you are watching, whatever brightness your eye is recognizing that it is too bright, it is too dark, it is mid-tone, that happens because of the rods. And cones are responsible for the colors. So there are 3 different types of cones. So 3 different types of cones result in red, green and blue channels inside our eyes. So humans see the world through RGB, red, green and blue. 3 types of cones. If we would have 4 different types of cones, then some other color would have been met. Like peacock can see 6 different colors. We can see 10 million colors, but all the colors are shades of this RGB only. So because of this rods and cones, we can sense light, luminance. Light means luminance, brightness, luminance, light. And we can also sense, because of the cones, we can sense the chrominance, which means colors. What is color? We will go in detail in color, but right now to understand bit depth and other things, you need to understand this in basic level. We have discussed about waves. So color is basically the wavelength of the wave. Long wavelength is red color, medium wavelength is green color, and short wavelength is blue color. Millions of wavelengths together, this forms the image. When we have this kind of something where different kinds of wavelengths are put together, this is the color spectrum. This is called as color spectrum. Human eyes have color spectrum of 10 million colors. This is a basic thing about human eye. But human eye is attached to the human brain, which is more complicated and more interesting device, human brain. So what happens? suppose suppose imagine a red color object, an umbrella or anything, or color red. It is kept on a street. In the morning when you go out of your house, you watch that color, that is a red box or red something, red umbrella, that this color, this object is kept in on the street. Okay, you go ahead, you come back in the afternoon, the light has changed, the sun has moved, it has more intense, it has changed. But you see the same red color, the color doesn't change. Because of the change in light, the brightness, the darkness, nothing, the surface of the box looks the same when the lighting was different in the morning. The color and the brightness both. When you watch it in the night or in the evening, not much color will be, there will be not much difference between the colors and the brightness of the object. Why? It should change. If you change the color in the video, the light of the video, it changes. This is human perception. The brain neutralizes the image. The brain is constantly neutralizing the image. Later on in color theory class, we will understand how filmmakers use this property of our eyes, which is attached to the brain, and how they manipulate, how the editors manipulate, even the directors, how they place objects of color to make us think that it is oversaturated or low saturated. That we will discuss in detail when the color depth, color theory and color grading class will come. Right now, this understanding we need that human eye is more complicated than a normal simple manual camera. It is more complicated than even a cinema camera. And whenever you see an object, you can see the color or the brightness in totality because your brain is adjusting. It is always neutralizing the image. And because of that, we can sense the world. Otherwise, we would not sense the world without this brain and without the neutralizing of the colors and the brightness. Okay. Now let us. So everything that we are going to discuss today, resolution, bit depth, codec, these are mathematical concepts which are fixed. But the perception, the color perception is not fixed. So I wanted to start with this so that you have an idea. We will talk about this in much more detail in color theory class. Resolution. We have spoken about resolution a little bit about yesterday. The smallest demarcation in an image is the resolution. So you have your laptop or your mobile phone where the screen is fixed some centimeters, some inches, whatever, 21 inch, whatever it is. But different videos look different qualities, right? Yeah, that day we uploaded 360p video, then we deleted it and uploaded 720p videos. What is the meaning of it? The 720p videos had more resolution than the 360. What is the meaning of more resolution? The demarcations are more in the 720 than 360. The separation between one line to another is more. It happens in lines, we have seen. Progressive scanning, interlace scanning. The frame is made up of lines and the electron beam scans the image according to the resolution of the image. Now let us get to the resolution part. The understanding of resolution begins with SD and HD. I'll make it a little bigger. SD means standard definition, high definition. Two different kinds of resolutions we have. So SD means 720 by 576. In the PDF that we have given, these resolutions are there. I am just writing it to explain here. 720 by 576. It is called PAL or NTSC. We have spoken about this also yesterday. Phase Ordinary Line, National Television Security Commission. PAL is in India. NTSC is in America and many other countries. PAL is also in many Southeast countries except Pakistan. Pakistan is NTSC. 720 horizontal lines by 576 vertical lines. Imagine this. Try to visualize. Now your still photograph has pixels, which is like dot, 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 dot. But this is resolution, video resolution, and video resolution is measured in lines. Resolution lines. So 720 by 576 means 720 horizontal lines and 576 vertical lines. And scanning happens in both ways. Yesterday I have just given an example of interlace and progressive scanning in the horizontal way on to make it easier to understand. HD is 1280 by 720. So whenever you see this resolution, 1280 horizontal lines by 720 vertical lines, see the size of the screen is same, 21 inches suppose. So if you show SD, the whole 21 inches are used. If you show SD, SD, the whole 21 inches are used. If you show HD, again whole 21 inches are used. But HD has more resolution than SD. Why? Because it has more lines. The demarcation is much more smaller. So much more details can be put, much more colors can be put, much more brightness can be put, and that is why it is more resolution, more details. Right. Now it gets interesting. Now pay attention. HD 1280 by 720. It is written as, it is denoted as, now whenever you are looking for a camera specification or a footage specification, when we go to your properties or get info in Mac, you will see something like this: 720p 25 or 720p 30 or 720p I30, something like this. So whenever you see this, that means how do you read the resolution here, and how do you read the footage? Not just the resolution but much more metadata. Data is what we see: the size, the name, the duration. This is the data that we can directly see. Metadata that we cannot see, that information is here, that we have to see going inside the video by properties and some other things. 720p 25. This means 720 is written, so it implies that it is 1280 by 720, which is HD footage. 720, wherever it is written, it is HD footage. 720p, P is not pixels. P means progressive scanned image. I means interlace scanned image. 720p, so you know now that okay, this footage is progressively scanned. Now I have to set up my software in progressive scanning, or I have to give output if today's software automatically sets up the scanning. You don't have to set up like before, but when you are giving output, you do not give output and I, you give an output in P only, because it is progressive scan. 720 means HD, 1280 by 720. P means progressive scan. 25 is the frame rate. So 720p 25 means progressively scanned HD footage of 25 FPS frame rate, frames per second. This is how you read this footage. Similarly, 720 I30. 720 means 1280 by 720. I is interlace scanned 30 frames per second. Full HD. Full HD is 1920 by 1080. It is also written as 1080 I25 or 1080p30 or 1080p25 or 1080 I30. Same. Whenever we see 1080, we will know that it is 1920 by 1080, that is full HD. And I is interlace scanning, P is progressive scanning, 25 frame rate, 30 is frame rate. This is how we read the metadata. This is how we read the specifications of the camera, specifications of the footage also. So HD, SD, Full HD, 2K. 2K is 2048 by 1080. Now sometimes this 1080 is something different. Sometimes, but generally, if you see 2048, it is a 2K footage. So 2K is a resolution, lines. So tomorrow or after 4 years, when 16K comes, then you understand that this is the same thing. It has evolved from SD, HD, it has come to 2K, 4K, 8K, whatever. There's 5K also. Scanning is done on the screen, any screen, by the electron beam inside that device. Interlace scanning, where the electron beam is scanning the odd and then the even lines. So 1720, 1280 lines So it will scan first line, third line, fifth line, seventh line, ninth line, and then it will trace itself back and scan second line, fourth line, sixth line, eighth line, 10th line. Interlaced, odd field, even field. It makes the frame into two fields, two electrical fields. Odd field, even field. It scans the odd field first, then it scans the even field. And that is why it scans quickly. And that is why in the motion shots we used interlaced scanning. Progressive scanning is progressive. The name suggests progressive, one by one. It starts with the half of the frame. It scans one by one lines. The electron beam retraces itself back to the top, and then the beam scans one by one again. That is progressive scanning. It is very good. It is a good quality output, this kind of scanning, but only used when there is not much movement in the on the screen, on the shot. Okay, interlaced scanning and progressive scanning. Both scannings divide the frame into two parts, either odd and even in interlaced, or upper and lower in progressive. So whenever 2048 is there, it is a 2K footage. Similarly, 4K is 3840 by 2160. Okay, so this is 4K, 3840. So similarly, 8K, 10K, 16K, 32K, whatever will come in future, each and everything are combinations of horizontal by vertical lines. You know how to read the footages also now. 720i30 means 720 means HD, 1280 by 720. I is interlaced scan and 30 is the frame rate of that particular footage, that particular video that you are talking about. So this is what resolutions are. This is how you read the resolutions and also read the metadata. The scanning, resolution and frame rate, they are clubbed together most of the times, and they are put like this. When you export in Adobe Premiere or in any other software, there will be a list of these kind of names of the footages. So you need to understand, I want to output it in full HD 1080. I want a progressive scanned image 1080p, and I want 25 FPS, 25 frames per second. So 1080p 25. This is the resolution. Now we are getting inside the digital file here, and these are one of the part. Resolution is one of the part of the metadata. Second, we will come to quickly. We will understand bit depth, bit rate. First of all, I think all of you know that one space is called a bit. Also, these are 4 bits. Okay, so bit rate means how rate, again, frames per second. So bits, how many bits per second you can transform from here to there. So how much of this video has a bit rate of this much, or this device has a bit rate of this much. So bit rate is important. Like when we, I will come to the codec part. You have a very good camera, suppose very high quality cinema camera or a DSLR camera which records 4K and everything, and you have a very high quality sensor, but the memory card that you have is 10 Mbps, 10 megabits per second, megabyte not megabits, so 10 Mbps. So it is not enough for 2K or 4K. 4K needs 25, 30 Mbps. So what the memory card will do, it will hugely compress the file. So if you do not have even if you are shooting with a DSLR, this is the difference between DSLR and the cinema camera. Cinema camera and DSLR, the operations are almost same. Everything is same. Sensor size is little bit different. But the cinema camera has a proper hard disk inside the camera. It doesn't compress the footage. The memory card is compressing the footage while it is being shot. While it is shot and it is compressed and already the footage is gone. So that is the problem with the DSLRs. Why it is not showing colors or so many things like cinema camera, because of this reason. So the transfer speed, the bit rate of the memory card of the videos that produced are less. Okay. So bit rate is used when you are copying file, and that video, if the bit rate is good, it will read up the software, the player in a better manner. The more important concept that we need to understand is bit depth is also called as color depth. The amount of colors that a video has. Now let us understand this. So bit depth is pointing to color systems. A video can have three types of color systems. Please be patient with me, I will explain one by one. Bit depth here is talking about color systems. A video can have three types of color systems: 8-bit, 10-bit or 12-bit. 8-bit means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-bit. So different combinations of 8-bit. So whenever we are talking about 8-bit, we are talking about RGB, R, G and B having 2 to the power 8 color shades. When we are talking about 10-bit, we are talking about RGB having 2 to the power 10 color shades. And when we are talking about 12-bit, we are talking about that RGB has 2 to the power 12 color shade. I will explain what is this. 2 to the power 8 is 256. 256 different variations or shades of red. 8-bit will have 256 different shades of red, 256 different shades of green, 256 different shades of blue. So 256 into 256 into 256, 16 million, more than 16 million. 8-bit, which is the lowest form of color system, can contain 16 million different color channels, all of RGB. You change 1 0 here, 1 1 here, different combinations can be formed. It goes up to 16 million. Now R different, G different, B different. So 256 R, 256 G, 256 B. So the computers, the data, the video codecs, the coding, everything works in bits. We know that, digital, 0 and 1. So 8-bit makes 16 million colors. 10-bit is 64 times of 8-bit. Instead of 256, there are 1024 types of red, 1024 types of blue, 1024 types of green. Now 1024 into 1024 into 1024, it becomes 64 times than 8-bit. 12-bit, 4096 times shades of red, 2 to the power 12, 4096. 4096 types of green, 4096 types of blue, 4096 multiplied by 4096 multiplied by 4096, 12-bit. Even 8-bit looks humongous, but 16 million colors, all are shades of RBG. When we talk about exports and delivery, later classes, we will come to this again. This is very important concept for the right export of the video. 8-bit has less space, 12-bit takes too much of space. So suppose you don't want to compress the file, you don't have time also, you want a final output, so you reduce the bit depth of your video while exporting. You reduce the bit depth, automatically it will compress, the file size will be less, and it will be 8-bit or 10-bit, whatever. If you have a 12-bit video, you make it an 8-bit video, and it will compress the file size. The size will be less without much quality, and then if you compress again, then you will lose quality. We will come to compression and everything when we talk audio codec right now in much more detail. This I wanted to talk about bit depth. So do not get confused between bit rate and bit depth. Bit rate and bit depth, both are different. Bit rate and bit depth. Bit rate is the transfer speed, and bit depth is the amount of colors it has. So 8-bit, the lowest color system, will have 16 million colors. 10-bit is 64 times, and you can imagine 12-bit more. 12 is to 12, 4096 multiplied by 4096 multiplied by 4096. So this is what color depth or bit depth is when you are giving. It is very important when you are giving the output, when you are giving the export. This concept is very important. All this is difference between an amateur and a professional editor. Now let us, all these things are also part of codecs. Different codecs behave differently, but resolution, bit depth, bit rate are common in all codecs, in all containers, all video footages files. Whatever footage codec you are working with, either you are working with DNxHD or you are working with ProRes, you need to set up what will be your bit rate, what will be your bit depth. Bit rate maximum, like you don't have to work that much on it, but bit depth is an important thing while giving export. So that you do not know, many editors do not know why the file size is so big, how do I compress it. Even after compressing it, it is not getting compressed. So they have to check the color depth. It is very high, 12 bit. So reduce it to 10 bit or 8 bit. 10 bit is a safer area. 8 bit is too compressed. For normal general videos, it can go for 8 bit. Third topic, resolutions and bitrate, bit depth we have done. Third part that I want to talk about codec. Yesterday, when I was talking about film format, digital format, TV format, so when I was talking about issues of color depth, I was talking about certain situations where the file size is too high. So this topic will come into this codec part also. So file size is too high and the editor has no idea that why this file size is too high. Even after compressing with another third-party software, it is not getting compressed. So if we don't want that high file size, we don't have space, or we have to transfer it, we have to give it to someone, and we can do away with certain details, little bit details, we have shot it well, so little bit of details here and there won't matter. So at that position, during the export, we reduce the color depth or bit depth and color depth are same thing. So we reduce the bit depth of the footage of the export. So automatically the file size drops hugely. This was I was telling. There are many export issues, many export setting issues. During the export class, we will talk about all the problems that we face and how a professional video editor should approach export. Today also we are going to talk about a little bit. Yesterday also as I was saying, that 3 stages of codecs, 3-way codecs. I'm going to elaborate on that right now. But here I was talking about, in export issues, I was talking about that it reduces the file size. Just this concept I was talking about, that if you go from 8 bit to 12 bit, the file size becomes more. If you come from 12 bit to 10 bit, the file size decreases. 10 bit to 8 bit, file size decreases. But sometimes if you come from 12 bit to 8 bit, there might be a drastic change on the video quality also. About codecs, I will repeat certain things that I said yesterday. First thing, codecs are important. We always call it 3-way codecs. Codecs, 3-way codecs. That means whenever we talk about codecs, we have to talk about 3 stages: recording, editing and playback. Yesterday also I have mentioned the same thing: recording, editing and playback. Now I will go in on only about digital I am talking about today. I already mentioned, whatever big camera you have, whatever sensor size you have, however well lights you have put, if your memory card is not speed enough, your footage is not going to be very high quality footage. Okay, it already compresses the footage. So most of the DSLRs or your mobile phones, even if it says 4K, it has that small memory card with less bit rate. That is why I covered bit rate, bit depth before the codec. So it has less bit rate, and that is why the memory card is compressing, using the codec to compress the file. So one type of codec is used already there. What are the types and all? Let us not go to that. We are understanding the concept of codecs. Different memory cards will have different codecs. So one type of codec is used there. Then when we take it to editing system, here I want to clear a myth. This is very important. What people think, that a huge file is there, let me compress the file. Let me compress the file into a lower size, into a smaller size, and then start editing, so that my edit will be faster, my system will work faster. Wrong. The opposite will happen. More compressed files you have, slower the system will be, slower the edit will be, because the computer is reading it more. You have compressed the file, it needs more information, it takes more time to decode the codec. You have already applied the codec, by applying the compression, and it takes more time to reveal. So you should edit on the native codec. For example, ProRes. ProRes is a native codec. DNxHD. These are the native codecs which all the software system supports. So if you put ProRes in FCP or Adobe Premiere Pro, it is huge file. A 10-minute file, a 10-minute video of ProRes is 20 GB. I gave an output of a 35-minute film for Shorts.tv. It was 40 GB. I've mentioned it earlier, I think, in this class. ProRes is huge file. You need good hardware for that, or you need good space for that. So many people do compress the file and edit because they do not have space. But if you have the space, do not compress the file. You use the same ProRes into edit, your software will fly. Your software will fly and it will be very fast, rather than if you have converted the footage into H.264, that is the MP4 or any other footage. More compression you do, more slower will be your system. It is a myth that smaller file size will be faster. Smaller file size is nowhere fast. It is just fast to copy because it copies quickly. Only fast to download. It is not better. It is not easier to play for the video player also. We are talking about editing systems. So edit in the native format, whatever the format that, and the ProRes, DNxHD for cinema cameras, DNxHD for normal DSLR thing, ProRes. ProRes is also works for the cinema footage also. Okay. So you do not, if you have the space, you do not compress the file to edit. So here, three-way codecs. First, I am talking about how it is recording and how memory card is taking up and applying a codec. Then when you are editing, you check the codec again. Whatever memory card is giving you, suppose memory card is giving you MOV or MP4, you convert it into ProRes. You convert that file into ProRes and then edit into ProRes. You arrange, if you want to become a professional editor, you arrange the hard disk and hard drives. Tomorrow we are going to talk about this hard drives and storage and the equipments a professional editor should use. And I will be talking about the high level stuff also, and I will be talking about the basic stuff also, how we are going to arrange a computer by using basic materials, and a professional edit can be done. Come back to today's topic. Codec should be the editing codec should be the native codec. Native codec means that the primary supported codec of the software. ProRes, DNxHD, all those things. Do not edit on MP4 if you have space in your computer, or if you have space in your hard disk or hard drives, whatever you have. Then you export. Now, an amateur editor, when he or she exports a file, they think that our job is done. File delivery is a separate last stage of the workflow. They do not understand that, right? Exporting doesn't finish your work. Delivery of the file, transfer of the file, reaching the file to the right person and checking that it is playing back correctly wherever it is supposed to play back is your job, is the job of the editor. People export and this is the file. So to deliver the file, again you might have to recompress the file. If the client is asking for a specific size, you give him a specific size. If the client is asking to upload on YouTube, you give a specific setting. To TV a specific setting. It depends on time to time what you have to do. So two softwares I am talking about here, telling you, after you have given export, again the codec is coming to play here. If you are using Mac, use this software called Compressor, Apple Compressor. This is an excellent software to compress the file without losing quality. So you export, you give a master file. It is a huge file. I suggest you give master file for ProRes only. So 10-minute footage will be 20 GB, 30-minute will be 40 GB. When you are sending to OTT platforms, they will ask for ProRes. They will not take MP4 or MOV file. They will ask for ProRes files. So, but if you want to upload it on a YouTube 10 GB file, you cannot upload on YouTube. So compressor, Apple compressor for Mac users, and this software for both Mac and it's an excellent free software. Handbrake compressor is not free. I use this Handbrake. I use Mac, but I use Handbrake. I do not use compressor. Compressor is a very good software, but I find Handbrake much more easier, faster, and it works on Windows beautifully. It works on Mac very well. Handbrake, and it compresses the file. 2 GB file it will compress in 500 MB to 500 MB, and you will not able to know what is the difference. It applies the codecs very smartly. So here, the third stage, the playing back stage, we are coming to. So we apply Handbrake, we compress, we use the whatever the codecs, ProRes codecs into H.264 or whatever we have converted, and then we send it to the player. It can be a WhatsApp player, it can be a YouTube player, it can be a VLC player, it can be a QuickTime player, it can be a Windows Media player, it can be a Vimeo player, it can be online or offline players. The players again compress it. They work on the codec. Coding, decoding is continuously happening during recording, during the editing, and during the playback. So again, having said this, what I do, I try to upload, whenever I am uploading on YouTube, I try to upload the maximum file resolution, the maximum file size to the YouTube. Of course, I do not upload ProRes files, but I do not compress the file and then upload to YouTube just because to save the data. Because the YouTube will compress it again, Instagram will compress it again, WhatsApp will compress it again. So upload the full whatever you have. But yes, when you are sending to OTT platforms and other things, you cannot all those heavy files. It is for, should not apply compressor or Handbrake to that footages. You should send the complete ProRes version. And I've told you some websites. cinesend.com is a professional website. Not many people know. You should use cinesend.com as a professional. All the professional places work on cinesend.com. WeTransfer, Dropbox are also there, but Cinesend is unlimited. I think 200 GB is free for Cinesend. This is how codec works. Each and every time the editor, the cinematographer must pay attention to what codec we are using. Before the start of the shoot, the editor should plan the codec. Okay, they should ask you what footage you are recording at, what is the memory card, what is the bit rate, how much bit depth will coming. You suggest him, no, you take more bit depth, we have to get more. Tell the producer or tell the team that we need to get more drives, we need to have more storage. Okay, then when you edit, do not compress the file for editing. Yeah, you can compress the file for editing if you don't have space, but if you have space in your computer, put ProRes into it and edit on ProRes. It will be a fast edit. The more you compress, slower your edit will be, slower your system will be, and slower your computer will be. And then after exporting, do not just use the final export. You can use Handbrake and compressor to compress the files and then deliver the file to the players or to your client. Here we need to understand that codecs change time to time. The popular codecs change time to time. Now this is the last part of this session. The last part, I want to talk about future, a bit of future of codec. I made an Instagram video also about a live video I did, but I will give more details in this class, little bit more details in this class. First of all, try to understand that there are many institutes and companies who continuously make codecs. Okay, for themselves, for the market, for various purposes. There are companies who make codecs only for their internal consumption, internal purposes. Those codecs are not out in the market. There are certain codecs which are out in the market, but you have to pay for them. For example, H.265, HEVC. Remember, MP4 was H.264, MP4. That is, I think MP4 is called AVC, Advanced Video Coding. HEVC is High Efficiency Video Coding, H.265. Why I am giving this example? Because now to understand the future of codecs, we have to understand this present codec. MP4, most of the things now we are doing on our mobile phones. MP4 takes up lot of space in this mobile phone area. Before this, I told you yesterday that AVI was the main. In the last class, we have discussed that AVI is the main container used by everyone. It was Microsoft's container, but now no one uses it because it was creating too much space for laptops. Right? Like 1 minute is so big, and it was slow also, and it was SD. It was not HD. AVI was not HD for the standard definition. It was not high definition. Then MP4 came, high definition came, H.264. So here laptops loved H.264 MP4. But now we are in mobile area, and not today. We are in mobile zones in 2011-12. We are using mobile phones to store videos and our audio-visual content. So they made, the same organization JEVT, they made this new codec called a high efficiency video coding, which is H.265, and this is paid. It has not worked like all the softwares, Adobe Premiere, FCP, everyone has this H.265, but you have to pay for it to use the codec. And MP4 was free for certain time. Now MP3, now you have to pay for MP3. MP3 also you have to pay. The licensing of MP3, the free licensing, they are ending. The same organization, JEVT, this is a German organization. You have to pay for MP3 from next year. I think the FLAC will be the most popular audio recording audio format. So HEVC is a licensed codec. You have to pay for the codec, HEVC codec. But having said that, it has not become that popular. People are not using it. Maybe it may be because of the payment, but there are other codecs also which works on payment. But this HEVC has not kicked off. So now by the turn of this decade, the same company has brought another codec, that is H.266 VVC, versatile video coding, H.266. This codec, the speciality of this codec is again that the purpose is to compress the file without losing the quality. Right? MP4 becomes too big, so we need a codec which will use the less space, not just the footage in your hard drive or on your memory card in your devices, be it tablet or a phone or a laptop or a desktop, but also the bandwidth that also takes up space, right? So you are streaming in Netflix, that takes huge amount of data. Hotstar in full resolution, if you the mid, full, high, all those things they have, it takes up, if you want to see good quality, it takes up huge amount of data. Okay, VVC will reduce the data by 50%. H.266. MP4 H.264 is the most dominant codec right now in the market. This H.266 VVC is the next thing by the same organization. Now this is going to compress the file by 50%, more than 50% they are saying. So now streaming Netflix and Hotstar, we will spend less data. So all this OTT platforms and the makers of OTT platforms became the thing of the past. No one uses AVI now. MP4 will also not be used. This is the future of the codec, and not much future next year. This codec has come this year. From next year onwards, I am sure that filmmakers are going to use this. OTT platforms are going to use this, but there is a problem. The problem is that it is again licensed. That means you have to pay. So new filmmakers are not going to use this. New filmmakers will still be at H.264, and big filmmakers, people with budget, OTT platforms might go with, they can go with H.266 HEVC. A better news that there is one more codec called AV1. AV1 is an open source codec. This is free of cost. Same. It will also reduce the file size by 50%. Now both of these codecs have not been used, so we do not know. You might say that okay, H.266 will also fail like H.265, but we can't say. This JVET is a big organization, MP3, MP4, MPEG 1 CD, MPEG 2 DVD, everything was made by them. And they are the most dominant force on building the codecs. But this AV1 is also not built by any Tom, Dick and Harry. This AV1 is built by open consortium of big Silicon Valley companies like Apple, Amazon, Google. These companies have made an organization, put their resources, and they have made this AV1. This AV1 is open source. The whole documentation, if you want to read about it, it's available on the software. You just type AV1 documentation, software documentation, all the technical details will come about AV1. Mostly all the platforms, for example, Amazon, Google, or whatever they have, trade pundits are saying that they are going to use AV1 from the next year itself. But H.26 is also there and AV1 is also there. These two will fight it out. Of course, AV1 will be more used like for filmmakers, young filmmakers like you, even us. Why would we spend on something if the AV1 is giving the same thing, 50% of compression and not and the same data quality? Having said this is only theory. When it will come, when we are going to use the cameras which have this codec, when we are going to use the softwares, when we have the players which support this codecs, then only we can judge, then only we can understand that whether we will be using AVI or we will be using H.26's versatile video coding or not. I hope now you get an idea. The future I told just to give you an idea about codec. Codecs we cannot see because codec is coding, decoding. It is a code. It is a code, a mathematical code, because of which your file you can see. You cannot play the file if there is no code, there is no codec inside your digital file. Okay. So this is it. This is what I wanted to say today. I'll just recap today's points. We started with human perception of color and resolution, human perception of light and color. To make you just understand that whatever we are talking about here is fine mathematically and everything, but human perception when it's presented in color sense, it changes. The bit depth and resolution has to change during the camera because of our eyes changes with the required whatever lighting and whatever things we need to perceive. And this property is used differently by the filmmakers, which we are going to understand in detail in the color theory, color grading class. We started with resolutions. We have seen what resolution means. We have seen how we write the resolutions for the video, how the video resolutions are lines, horizontal by vertical lines, and what does full HD mean? What does HD? What is the meaning of 2K, 4K, 8K and other things that we have seen. Now if 16K also comes, you know that more number of lines. Just that. Higher resolution means more number of lines. Bit rate, transfer speed of the footage of the video. Bit depth, amount of color it has. 3 type of color systems, 8-bit, 10-bit, 12-bit. Each contains RGB. In 8-bit it is 256R into 256B into 256G. Similarly in 10-bit it is 1024 by 1024 into 1024. For 12-bit it is 4096 into 4096 into 4096. Even just the 8-bit makes 16 million colors. By the way, spectrum locus of human eye is 10 million colors. So this is a food for thought for you. Okay, what happens? We will answer all these things in the color depth class. Then again we talked about codecs again today. We saw how 3 stages of codec, how they behave, and with some tips also I have mentioned along the way. And we have seen recording, editing and export. And finally we have spoken a little bit about the future of codecs, mainly about these 2, VVC and AV1. MP4 and other things are not even, MP3 is going to reduce because they are going to charge us for MP3. Till now it was free. We took it for granted, but now they are going to charge us, so we will not be using anymore. FLAC will be the main codec for audios. Manufacturers are making new products, new cameras, Red Epic, Dragon, Helium, Hydrogen, so many versions of red camera and other cameras have come, and 8K, 16K also I'm hearing. That is why I mentioned 16K also. And the theaters are not upgraded enough. So it is, everything in film industry doesn't work according to science, that we all know, right? In aesthetic sense too, it doesn't work according to science. In technical space also these problems are there. Now, this is in India 2K. All over the world, there are only 4K projectors. Okay, there are no 8K projectors. So most of the places have 2K projectors. Your television, very few houses have 4K, right? That 4K is not true 4K also. Many places, in many situations. For example, your small camera, 60,000 camera also have 4K recording. That is not true 4K. That is UHD. That is different. So this is because of the manufacturers and their marketing. They want to make new and new products, and they want you to buy that, okay, 8K resolution. And then when you ask this question, they will say that, okay, fine, 8K resolution, even if the projection is 2K, you will have more details. Even after compression, your footage will look better than 2K. So this is a debate in the industry. The manufacturers, the camera manufacturers are mainly responsible for this. Now the camera manufacturers also, they say that the theater projection should be improved. It is not our fault that we are bringing new materials. The theater projection is not improved. What can we do? So this is a debate. I implore you guys to also join in the debate online. Wherever you find, you can start this debate. You can ask manufacturers that why, you can ask theater people that why are you not upgrading now, but the situations are different. We are not having any, the theaters are also not running. Telugu film industry, the Telugu producers have have waged a war. The trade Pandya said waged a war that they are not going to, against the multiplexes, they are not going to give movies to them unless the sharing ratio is increased in their favor, producers' favor. Now Hindi film producers are also talking about the same thing. So theater projection, I don't know when it will start and what will happen to it. But yes, it needs to be upgraded at least to 4K. If the all the footage, everything is shot in 4K. All the films are shot in 4K. Even the short films are. I shot recently a short film with 4K footage. It was a 10-minute film. Okay, so this is my answer, Senthil. That it is because of the marketing. It is because of the manufacturers. They are making new and new products, and here the upgradation has. Okay, so this is it. This is the class.